It's finally official. Arcane, Riot Games' first foray into television, is returning for a second season.
Every way I slice it. If I go after your sister alone, one of us comes back in a box.
The series, set in the League of Legends world, serves as a prequel to the popular video game, covering the origin tales of characters from the Piltover and Zon kingdoms. We're beyond happy about the positive response to Arcane's first season, and are working hard with the creative wizards at Riot and Fortiche to deliver our second installment, Sick, said co-creators Christian Link and Alex Yee.
Well, I think, we've been with the game and the IP for so long. It was just kind of...
It's maybe not surprising that the series was renewed so quickly. Not only did the first season get critical acclaim for its stunning animated graphics and fascinating characters, but it also topped Netflix's top 10 ranking in 52 countries. But when will the next batch of episodes be released? And, since the first season ended on a cliffhanger, what will happen next? Here's all we know about Arcane's second season so far, so make sure to watch till the end to know all the details. The second season of Arcane was officially greenlit by Netflix in November 2021. The specific terminology used by the @NetflixGeek Twitter account was "in production," which suggests that development on the new episodes has already begun. Season 2 has yet to get an official release date from the streaming service, but since production is already beginning, we can't rule out a 2022 release date. Fingers crossed that production doesn't suffer any further setbacks, after the COVID-19 outbreak disrupted production on the first batch of episodes, delaying Arcane's projected 2020 release date to November 2021. Explaining the delay to the first season, Greg Street, also known as Ghostcrawler, head of creative development for Riot Games, said, "Creative development and production is hard, especially in a world where you can't see your coworkers IRL. We have video meetings now, which help, but they are no substitute for being in a room where we can really get the creative energy flowing. Combine these issues, along with the technical difficulties of production at the international scale, and the problem becomes a lot bigger."
This is the kind of thing, it's a little bit of art and a little bit of science. We try to make sure that there are enough champions available that you can make a team comp of all.
Netflix is yet to confirm an episode count for the second season, though it's feasible we could be looking at a release pattern akin to the show's first outing, which saw a total of 9 episodes released between 6 November and 20 November in 3-episode batches. And in regard with the casting, we can expect much of the main cast of the first season to return for any follow-up, including Haley Steinfeld as Vi, Ella Purnell as Powder/Jinx, Mia Sinclair Jeunesse as Young Powder, Kevin Alejandro as Jace Tallis, Katie Lung as Caitlyn Kiraman, Molly Harris as Young Caitlyn, Harry Lloyd as Victor, Tox Olagundoye as Mel Medarda, J.B. Blanc as Vander and Balbach, Reed Shannon as Echo, Miles Brown as Young Echo. Jason Spacek's involvement is less clear, given that his character Silco was killed off in the first season's end, though flashbacks are always a possibility. A short clip accompanied Netflix's announcement that Arcane would be returning for a second season, though it's very much a teaser and doesn't include any new footage. Now, for what most of you have been waiting for, the plot. Though there is no official storyline summary for the second season yet, considering how the first season finished with a massive cliffhanger, we may take some informed guesses about how the early episodes might proceed. Jace, voiced by Kevin Alejandro, initiated a council vote to grant Zon independence in the 8th episode of Arcane, The Monster You Created. The vote was successful, but just then, Jinx, Ella Purnell, who was traumatized after killing Silco, launched a rocket towards the council building. That's how the season ended, and with tensions between Piltover and Zon running high throughout the 9 episodes.
What could have been?
It's quite probable that the attack on the council building will lead to more fighting, maybe causing the vote for Zon's independence to be interrupted for good. Now that we've tackled a few details about its second season, let's do a little recap and review on Arcane's first season. Heads up, spoiler alert. Arcane has a large universe filled with complex people you either love to root for or despise. A simple, yet deep and nuanced tale. An extremely stunning and pioneering animation with a distinct visual style. Though the video game adaptation curse was already beginning to crack, this League of Legends adaptation puts the final nail in the coffin by shattering preconceptions of what the animation medium is capable of, delivering a once-in-a-generation masterpiece that will inspire both fans and storytellers alike for years to come. It achieves all of this while telling a gripping, action-packed tale. Whether you're familiar with Runeterra Past or just seeking for the next event series, Arcane is set in the city of Piltover and its Undercity district of Zaun, and is based on the lore of League of Legends while also acting as a precursor to many of the characters and plot aspects from the games. Arcane is mostly an upstairs-downstairs drama, focusing on the escalating tensions and social unrest in Zaun, where people live in deplorable conditions and are constantly threatened by Piltover's vicious enforcers. By concentrating on visual storytelling and employing Easter clues to hint at a wider universe, Arcane does a superb job of establishing its huge world full of rich history and heritage without blasting us with exposition. The mechanical construction of Zaun, the way a tavern changes appearance from one arc to the next, and the monuments referencing deities or former fighters all contribute to telling the greater tale without the need for many vocal explanations, much like the original Star Wars did. The plot revolves around two parallel storylines that take place in two different locales. In Piltover, we follow Jace and Victor, two scientists on the cusp of being able to use technology to harness magic, as well as the societal cost of rapid technological advancement. We follow orphan sisters Vi and Powder through the streets of Zaun as they become entangled in a botched theft and the beginnings of a gang war in Zaun with major ramifications for both towns. Despite having a lot of moving components and a lot of narrative ideas and world building, Arcane manages to keep its two small tales grounded. Sure, the program delves into significant events that have far-reaching consequences for the realm of Runeterra. Even if you never play the games, the character stories are what keep you interested episode after episode. The mythology is just frosting on the cake for deepening everything within the greater tale. This is in sharp contrast to Netflix's Dota animated series, which was so focused on its backstory and appeasing old fans that it became a confusing muddle for newcomers. However, well-written characters are just part of the story. Arcane also has a great voice cast, with Katie Lung's soft-spoken Caitlyn and Sheree Agdashlu's remorseful Grayson, bringing a depth of emotion to the characters. Jinx's bouts of wrath are especially well balanced by Ella Purnell's fragility, which inspires both terror and sympathy anytime she's on screen. Throughout all 9 episodes, Haley Steinfeld steals the show with her phenomenal representation of Vi's whole path, bringing a world full of anguish and emotional baggage coated in a thick shell of toughness.
Into the zone, I don't necessarily feel like it's definitely a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Not being able to like physically be in it and do it.
Without a doubt, as spectacular as the action sequences are, Arcane is frequently tragic, particularly if you played the games and know what happens to key characters. Even if you don't know who the characters are, the program is full of shocks and narrative twists that add to the character journeys. There is a definite goal to make this the initial step towards a much broader world, one that inspires to compete with the Marvel Cinematic Universe in terms of ambitious connected narrative, albeit with a more visually inventive approach. Even as a standalone season, Arcane comes to a satisfying, albeit heartbreaking conclusion. The show's ability to weave in prequel cliches without drawing attention to them is one of its most impressive components. Many characters from the games evolve into fan-favorite champions as they receive their famous appearance and weaponry. But this isn't Han Solo receiving his last name since he had no family, or Jack Sparrow's cap and braids getting origin tales. We watch Vi pick up her gauntlets for the first time, but the program never zooms in on them. And when she does, it's at the end of an emotional trip with a significance to her character's journey, not simply a gracious bit of fan service. Arcane, like the games, has a lot of action, and this is when it turns from admirable to outstanding, as it becomes the most magnificent work of animation since Into the Spider-Verse, and one hell of an argument for animation as the ideal medium for adapting video games. The French animation company Fortiche, which has worked on League of Legends cinematics for a decade, starting with the Get Jinxed music video, which has enough needle drops in Arcane to highlight Riot Games' past with stunning music videos that truly deserves a lot of the credit. Their unique graphic style, which combines 3D figures with 2D shading and flat colors, gives the show an airbrushed painting effect that, when paired with the world's steampunk aesthetics, provides us the closest thing to a Dishonored series we'll likely get. Similarly, the program uses 2D for water, smoke, and fire textures, which are animated with fewer frames than the actors. When you combine that with the flat painted backdrops, you get a style that's reminiscent of the classic Disney multiplane cameras, which isn't too realistic or cartoonish. Whereas most 3D CG projects nowadays appear weightless and distant, Arcane's blend of 2D and 3D, as well as the impressionistic visual style, helps give it a sense of weight that is sadly lacking in Western animation, which comes to life in the kinetic action scenes that pack a punch. Jason DeMarco of Adult Swim joked that Arcane had a budget more akin to feature films and animated television series. Every aspect of the program, especially the action sequences, is dripping with cash. Consider a moment from Marvel's Rocket and Groot, which is also created by Fortiche, but lacks the same degree of cinematic beauty as this program. Arcane uses live-action methods like lighting and contrast, as well as intricate camera motions, to produce fluid action that is both realistic and thoroughly embraces the animation medium. The camera will move swiftly and effortlessly 1 second, and then we'll see a shaky cam fight sequence that mirrors the chaos in our characters' life the next, while a fair dose of slow motion helps underline the force of the blows rather than just lengthening the runtime. Despite the fact that Arcane isn't intended for children, it's a unique Netflix animated program that doesn't go overboard with gore or profanity, resulting in a PG-13 rated film. Sure, there's a lot of violence and dark scenes, and the characters don't hold back when it comes to swearing, but this isn't done only to take advantage of Netflix's lack of censors. On the contrary, the program makes liberal use of profanity and language to emphasize the disparities between Piltover and Zon residents, which helps to world building. Arcane is also one of the few current animated series with 40-minute episodes, which makes it stand out. Despite this, Arcane manages to maintain its quality throughout the first season's 9 episodes. What are your thoughts on the upcoming season of Arcane? Anything you expect and hope to happen? Let us know by leaving a comment down below.